So I'm Russell Thomas. I'm a full-time artist working out of Birdsong Studios in Okotoks, Alberta. Originally from Saskatchewan, spent many years up in Fort McMurray, almost a quarter century, makes me sound old, and have been a variety of things in my life. I've spent a decade in the radio broadcasting business. I was a senior marketing and communications person at a college up north, and I was a politician, but I'm better now. I'm getting therapy, thanks. People always ask, did I always do this? And the answer is no. When I was a child and a teenager and in my early adult years, I would draw. I would draw portraits using pencil or pen. And that really was the extent of the art that I was doing at that time. I did a little bit of painting as I got older, like when I say a little bit, a couple of things a year type of thing. But then Heather's dad is a former high school art teacher, and one day he gave our son Ben a watercolor lesson, and I said, can I sit in on this? Because I'm interested to try watercolors. And so I did. And at the same time, I'd read an article in Maclean's magazine about an artist from Calgary named Mandy Strobo, who was doing these bad portraits and doing amazing with them. So they were so bad and quick, but they were awesome and amazing. And in my brain, it helped me get out of my head and have fun with art. It was that as simple as that. And I started playing with watercolors first and using weird colors to do portraiture. Flash forward maybe about a year, and I was an elected official up north. I lost an election. My professional job was coming to an end, and I started working with the United Way up in Fort McMurray. Days later, our shed, my carpentry shop, had been tagged by a graffiti person. And I kind of went, oh man, I need to cover that up with something beautiful. I'm going to paint something big. And I didn't know what to use. I didn't have paints. I didn't have material. I had nothing. So I got some advice. I went to the paint store and got a whole bunch of what they call mist tints, little cans of paint that people had brought back because they were the wrong color. And so I had a box of mist tints, and I painted this big portrait of a Métis elder named Elsie. She was about 96 years old at the time. And when I was done, it took me a day. It was like 8 feet tall by 5 feet wide. I brought her over to see it. And being a marketing communications guy, I brought the newspaper, the radio, the cable channel. It ended up on the front page of the newspaper, the story of this painting. And then there was a social media thing that happened where people started looking for it. It was hard to find because it was in sort of tucked away in this back alley, and it was difficult to find. So people would eventually find it, they'd take a picture with it, take a selfie with Elsie, and then posted it. And so it became a thing. Shortly after that, Trudeau was in town. And so I playfully tweeted to him, you should come and get a selfie with Elsie. Well, who shows up at the house but Justin Trudeau? Well, that began everything, and then I just kept painting after that, and eventually I started buying real painting supplies, though it took a while to get a canvas. The first painting I ever sold was actually not done on a canvas, it was done on an old album cover, because I had no canvases, so I had to paint on something. So that one I put up for bid on Facebook. Asked if anybody would be interested in bidding on it. There was this little bidding war that happened, and it sold for, I don't know, $300 to somebody down in Michigan. And I went, that was easy. And I overcame my fear of selling. Now that was a big one, because up to that point it was really difficult to ask people for money for art. But I overcame that. And my style, which I sort of dubbed a wild colors style, took off in a big way, and Eventually, it blew up into a thing. I left traditional employment, started doing art full-time at the age of 50. And then we discovered this space in Okotoks and moved here. And we've been here for 3 years now. Well, the challenge any artist has when they're starting out is, how do you price your work? And so very quickly I established sort of a formula for how I would price things. And I stuck to it, generally speaking, with the odd exception. And because I did that, and because there was a quick demand for what I was doing, I was fortunate because I was selling stuff really quickly. A lot of artists struggle to get to that point. I think I was just lucky. I was fortunate with the timing, the style. What I was doing was completely different than what anybody else was doing. And there was an appetite for it. But it was establishing the price structure that worked, and then finding the market and reacting to the market. Because I had an artist that I really appreciated who lives in the States, who inspired me at one point in my journey, and the work he was doing I thought was so amazing. But where he lived, in a community in Kentucky or Tennessee, the economy wasn't where our economy was at, so he was getting $100 where I was getting $500. So no matter where you are, that pricing structure fluctuates based on demand and the economy and where you are in the arc of your career. And so I had to figure those things out. But I think the biggest thing for me was saying the words, I am an artist. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it up until 2014. And in 2014, there was a switch, something happened in my brain. We were down here in southern Alberta visiting a gallery, and I had this feeling that I could see my work in that gallery in the future, and that I was able to say and believe that I am an artist. That was the biggest obstacle of all. Self-doubt, that I'm a pretend artist or an amateur artist, and listening to negative messaging from people that maybe are more established artists. But I overcame that. And the other thing that I think is important to me is that I'm completely self-taught. Been on this journey for 8 years now, and I have done it all learning on my own. I haven't learned by workshops or videos. It's just really being dedicated to it. I paint something almost every day. So in a given year, I'll do between 250 and 300 paintings. And I just keep going and going and going with the belief that I'm meant to do that, that it's taking me somewhere. I don't know where it is. And I'm pretty dedicated at it, as probably Heather will tell you. I'm out here every morning, first thing, and if I can, I paint every day. Color is what I'm known for. I love to have fun with color. So if you look at any picture, whether it's this landscape I'm working on right now or a portrait, you're going to see colors and you're going to go, well, gee, that color doesn't happen in that person's face, but it still works. So that wild color style is the one that I've been playing with for 8 years. But I love characters. I love the characters, the people that I paint. I have no fear of painting portraits. A lot of artists fear portraits because they're difficult, but because I started with portraiture, it's the thing I'm most comfortable with. And I love capturing the character in the subject, no matter whether it's a person, an animal, or even a tree, or an inukshuk, or a rock. That's my passion. So I started this painting journey at the age of 47. By 50, I went full-time. And I've fallen into something that truly I love to do. It relaxes me, and I just do it. I'm not overthinking anything. That's what inspires me, is just, it's something I love to do. And the fact that tomorrow, well, today, I had no idea I was going to paint this today. None. It just sort of happened. That's cool. That's what drives me.
So you're not planning, you just come in here?
No planning allowed. You know, the only planning I ever do is if I have a commission, obviously, that someone's paying me to do, or if it's a special project for a charity. I do an awful lot of charity work. But generally, my favorite thing is just to follow an impulse, come out here and paint it, and just listen to what the wind is telling me I need to paint on any given day. And I'm grateful because, you know, a lot of people do a thing in their life that they maybe only love a little bit, but I really truly love doing this a lot. And even after 2,100 paintings, I still love it. Boy, that is a personal question. I need to think about how I'm going to answer that.
Yes,
okay.
Take a few minutes.
I'll say it this way. I am not an artist that is featured in any galleries, except for one in Edmonton at the moment. I have an exhibit at Wild Skies Gallery, but that was an anomaly. We have generated over the last 6 or 7 years well over $100,000 a year in revenue from art-related activities. And that may sound pretty incredible to a lot of artists that struggle every day, but I have to say that that is inclusive of a lot of things. That's selling paintings, it's selling prints, it's doing workshops, it's being hired to do charity performances. It's the whole gambit. So we've really learned to become entrepreneurs. That's a hard word to say. So taking the idea of art and a skill, leveraging it, finding ways of taking existing work and having it work for us, almost like passive income. It's the combination of all those things. And when we've been successful because we work hard at it. I can only do this because Heather's on the back end managing the financial stuff. I don't touch the money, she does. And she tells me where I could spend it or not spend it. I'm just kidding. But that is essential because a lot of artists don't have that. They try to do everything on their own, and that can be overwhelming. But we have a great team approach, and we have certain things that each of us does to manage the business. I think the other thing that's been successful for us is that we're largely a shipping business. So most of our art gets shipped somewhere in Canada or the United States, once in a while in Europe and Asia. And that is another thing. We're not dealing with, it's not about who comes in the door today or tomorrow. It's mostly a shipping business. There is a freedom to being an entrepreneur, a self-employed person, that you don't get when you're traditionally employed. And there is a joy to being able to get up in the morning, come out to here and work. And I recently experienced it because I went to my very first non-art related conference in many years. And it was very useful, but it reminded me of why being an entrepreneur, as difficult as it can be, because it is difficult. You have to do things that generate revenue to pay the bills every single day. When you take a holiday, you don't get paid for that holiday, unlike when you're traditionally employed. So there are some challenges for sure, but there is a joy in being able to make the decisions that you make every day, and then seeing the benefits from that. Way more than any other thing I've ever done in my life, bar none. Yeah. If money weren't an option, I would love to go on a meandering driving tour of Canada and the United States and paint, if I feel like painting, discovering new places and people. I'd love to. We are going to spend some time in Mexico doing something similar. I do love that. If money wasn't an option, I'd be doing that. Just hanging out in places, and because what happens from an artistic perspective, when you're in a place, it inspires you artistically. It just does. And to be able to have that joy of doing that would be pretty special. That's what I would do. Follow your heart and listen to the wind. The wind, which you may interpret to be God or Buddha or whatever your higher power idea is, there are signals that the universe gives us every single day. Don't ignore them. And the last thing I would say is that's guided me in my life is make decisions based on the things that feel light, not the things that feel heavy.